Hello, this is David.
And this is Salome.
And welcome to Something Old, Something New at the Movies, which is the very first spinoff of Something Old, Something New. As you can tell, we're not going to be comparing, contrasting an older film with a newer film, because the thing is, to you, our loyal listeners, that, hey, like they compare and contrast these newer films with the older films, but I mean, they must go and see, other films, right? Whether they're new, whether they're old, and yes, indeed we do, because we are frequent film goers. And just to let you guys know that we did promise a bunch of episodes throughout the month of October, but unfortunately, real life caught up to us that we had to, do a lot of personal things to get that taken care of. But the thing is that we don't want to neglect you guys. We still want to keep going with the show. We will indeed be back with Something Old, Something New, comparing and contrasting older and newer films. But we also want to do, other spin-offs as well. So in this case, we're doing At the Movies for newly released films. For this week, we're taking a look at 3 films that are part of the Oscar season. Like, we're right smack dab in it. These films usually get released in, October moving forward, because they want to get those awards. They want to get those Oscars. In this case, we're talking about The Lighthouse, directed by Robert Eggers and starring Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. And we also Jojo Rabbit, directed by Taika Waititi. And we've also got Parasite, directed by Bong Joon-ho. But before we begin with that, we want to talk about some new movie news as well, because as we're reviewing, newer films, we also want to take a dab into, what's happening in, new movie news. So, Salome, what's been happening in terms of new movies?
Well, one that I've totally been keeping up with because I'm so freaking excited is for the new Batman movie that's being in pre-production. That's the term, right?
Yes, it's directed by Matt Reeves, called The Batman. Not just Batman, The
Guys,
Batman.
look at me learning some film terminology. Oh my God, I'm so excited for myself. Anyways, but yeah, so there's been a few names already that's been released when it comes to the casting. Mm-hmm. So the first one that I was completely shocked with before, and it ties into actually one of the movies that we're talking about today. Mm-hmm. Robert Pattinson is going to be playing Batman, which I am so excited for because, I mean, and we'll talk about it later on when it comes to The Lighthouse, but he, after seeing The Lighthouse, I was sold. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot wait to see what he does with Batman.
Yep, and I agree.
I'm so excited.
And I agree with that as well. And that is just give a little, quick little spoiler review when it comes to The Lighthouse, and that is just to get out of the way. The performances in The Lighthouse are absolutely spectacular.
They're phenomenal. Yep. Oh my God.
And anyone who is walking into or heard the news about Batman are thinking, ooh, Edward, Twilight. No.
Is it going to sparkle too?
You need to watch The Lighthouse. That will convince you that Robert Pattinson is an actor and is a damn good actor. Also, you can check out The Lost City of Z. Those are The King as well. Those are movies.
I've been hearing
a
lot of great things about The King, honestly. It's his performances and stuff.
Anyways, oh yeah.
But so he's been it's confirmed he's playing Batman. Also, 2 other confirmations when it comes to that. There's Zoe Kravitz playing Catwoman.
Yep.
Which I was like, huh, okay. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. What has she been in?
Well, that Zoe Kravitz is, for most folks might remember her for being in not Pretty Little Liars. I'm sorry, Big Little Lies or something.
Oh, okay. Is she one of the main characters?
Yes, that it's she's in the ensemble cast with Nicole Kidman, Reese Witherspoon.
The only thing and this kind of sucks is I just know her because of her dad. Unfortunately, that's how I know her. So it's but I mean, hey, I don't know if she's a great actress, but I'm actually very intrigued. I love that they chose a woman of color to be Catwoman.
Well, I'm happy that they're doing that because I've been saying for years that I want to see another Batwoman, an Eartha Kitt Catwoman, because I thought Eartha Kitt did a really good. In my opinion, of all of because there were 3 Catwomen in the Adam West 60s Batman show, but for me, of the 3 Catwomen, Eartha Kitt was the best. That she had so much fun with it. Now, do I think Zoe Kravitz is going to be doing that? Doubtful, but it's really fun that she's bringing her talents to the table.
The thing is, because I'm looking at who's confirmed and who's been they're in talks of playing and stuff. I have no idea the tone of the movie, how this is gonna go, because Right now, they did confirm that Paul Dano is going to be playing the Riddler.
Yep.
And again, I'm not going to lie, I'm not that familiar with his work. But the people that are in talks right now for playing the Penguin is Colin Farrell and Andy Serkis playing Alfred.
Yeah, and what's so interesting about those casting choices, like with Paul Dano, is that when that happened, I didn't think because I know online everybody, like the popular choices are folks like Neil Patrick Harris or David Tennant. Those were the two names being floated around by fans for such a long time. But I was always like, I don't want that because it's just such an obvious choice. I want somebody...
And distracting as well, wouldn't it be? A little bit because it's a little bit too obvious?
It could be, but then there would have been good acting. There would have been good casting choices. But with Paul Dano being announced, that's one that surprised me, but one that made so much sense to me. Like, oh, I could definitely see it. With Colin Farrell as the Penguin, that I loved that they're not going with the idea of what... Because, when people are thinking of the Penguin, they're thinking of short, chubby actors. They're thinking of maybe like a Timothy Spall or a Toby Jones. In this case, they're going for a really handsome Irish actor with Colin Farrell. And I'm glad that... they're going in that direction because Colin is a damn good actor. And with Andy Serkis, if he gets the part of Alfred, he'll be reunited with his Planet of the Apes director, with Matt Reeves. In this case, he's not doing, unless he decides to do a motion capture Butler. But in this case, but they're also going relatively young for Alfred, because usually they cast actors that are like older, like maybe in their 60s, if not 70s, to play Butler.
Exactly. That's why I'm just basing it on Batman. Robert Pattinson, I don't remember how old he is, but I'm guessing I think he's around my age. So it's
no, he's older. He's
older?
actually, I think he's in his, I think he's 32 or 33, around that age.
Okay, so he's closer to your age.
He's the same age as Christian Bale was when he was cast as Batman.
Here's the thing, though. Oh, you know what? Okay, you're right. Okay. Now I get it. Because for some reason I'm like, but Robert Pattinson looks younger. But here's the thing, though, not so much anymore. But not in a bad way. He looks good. Anyways, but I'm actually really excited because they are really thinking outside the box when it comes to this movie.
Yeah.
And they are taking a huge chance just by Robert Pattinson's name, because I still feel that after a lot of more people start watching The Lighthouse and The King and all that stuff, that his perception of Robert Pattinson will start going away into now realizing how great of an actor he really is. But right now they're still in that stage of people saying like, hey, he's Edward and blah blah blah. But anyways,
and I want to throw in another name that was cast as well, and this one I was really very happy as well, and that is speaking of casting a person of color, Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon. Which that's another one, because for me it's like, I thought that I was thinking in terms of casting, like it would be great of thinking outside the box. I was thinking of like an Andre Braugher, to do that. And it's like no, going with Jeffrey Wright. I was like, that's another one where you look at it and you go, that makes sense. And that's what makes me, very happy with these choices, that they're thinking outside the box, but then you start and think about it and you go, that does make sense. So I'm really excited about it.
But let's I'm glad that makes sense. But do you want to hear something that does not make sense?
What's that?
So there's this new movie coming out. Well, it's again pre-production. They're still in talks. They're still in the casting stage. And they just cast James Dean for one of the roles. Yep. There is so much controversy behind this because, first of all, I don't remember what the title of the movie is, or I don't even know if it has been released. But pretty much what this movie's about is about veterans and military dogs during the Vietnam War.
Which is just like, why would you? Because the one main focus of it is like, beyond the whole like, why would you want to bring him in? But it's like, if you are going to do it, why this story? Because I believe either the director and the writer are the same person, but word got out, I was like, oh, I wanted to cast James Dean because he was the perfect actor for this part. And
he was saying that he has did so much casting, like searching high and low for the perfect actor, and that he could not find them. So he decided to bring James Dean back from the dead, and he spoke to the estate, he was given permission, and he bought the rights for the likeness and all that stuff, why?
It goes into because then it goes into the ethical questions, and the one thing that we discussed also is like what is the difference between, say, this and what they did with Peter Cushing, bringing him back as Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I guess the difference isn't in terms of, well, they got permission from James Dean's estate. I guess it was not so much his estate, but a very distant relative, as opposed to Peter Cushing in regards to him getting permission from somebody who was close to Peter Cushing, somebody who knew Peter Cushing.
And like, here's the thing, like and I don't know, like, if for the listeners, correct me if I'm wrong, but I read in a few places that James Dean was anti-war, if I'm not mistaken, right? So like, they have to be very careful on how they're going to do this movie. Like, what is, I mean, like, I know it's, I guess, about the relationship between veterans and their dogs, but I mean, a lot of people are saying, like, are you sure even James Dean would have wanted to do this? Like, it's one thing when an actor goes into like audition for this role, and like you said, like the man in Star Wars, like this is a role that he's already done before, and they're bringing him back to finish that role. But this is a role that James Dean has never done, has never approved of, never, like, obviously he died a tragic death when he was young. So to just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna bring you back regardless of whatever or not, like, that's kind of douchey in my eyes.
Because the other thing is, I'm one confused over, because I don't know whether it was confirmed or not. If this was a confirmed leading role for James Dean,
don't know.
Because the thing is that one, for me, like, what doesn't affect so much in regards to what happened with Peter Cushing in Rogue One is that it's a very small role. He is not, like, if you were to go,
effective. And it's very well, tastefully done. It was great.
Yeah, it's effective. Yeah. But think of it this way: if you were to go, provide me who are the leads of Rogue One, you would say, oh, it's the ones played by, Felicity Jones or by Diego Luna. That you wouldn't say, Peter Cushing. You wouldn't say Tarkin. That he's it's a very important character, but it's a small role. So in my opinion, if this is tastefully done, and if it's a very, very, very minor role, beyond me going, why for this particular project, I'm a little bit confused over it. I would be more okay with it. But if we're talking like a leading role, main character, okay, you're going to be spending, because bear in mind, how much money? Like, it costs, like, I'll give you an example. One film we're looking forward to is The Irishman. That film cost $150 million. And they had to spend a lot of money to get that de-aging process to make De Niro, Pacino, and Pesci, who are all in their mid to late 70s, look much younger. Not just that, but Harvey Keitel as well, to make them all look younger than they actually are. It's expensive. It's hard. It's tough. And that's when the actors are alive. Yeah. This is an actor who has been dead for well over 60 years. Over 60 years.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like you said, like, depending, right now the controversy, like, in the backlash, it's as if he was going to have a very prominent role in the movie, like a very leading role. If that's the case, I'm just so worried about the quality. Because, like, even though there is, like me and you, we talked, like, there's this movie that came out with Will Smith where they actually did that, like, de-aged him and all that stuff.
Gemini Man.
Yeah, Gemini Man, and it's like, it's very well done, but after a while, you're going to start noticing, you're going to be able to tell that it's CGI. Like, it's going to be distracting.
But the difference, though, is that even if it might become distracting, at least that's Will Smith.
Oh, yes, of course. But I'm just saying, like, with James Dean, like, we know he's dead. We're going to be way too aware of the fact that it's CGI. We're going to be, like, and once we're aware, the quality will go down, like, in our minds, So wouldn't that ruin the movie? And is it worth it? Is it worth the possibility of ruining your movie just for you to have James Dean in
for
it?
For a 90-minute to 2-hour feature. Actually, the one thing is, before we go to the movies, and that is, there was an episode of, if anyone remembers this, from Tales from the Crypt, where this is around the time in the early 90s where this is when Forrest Gump came out, where you would see Tom Hanks's character Forrest Gump interact with JFK, Lyndon Baines Johnson, Richard Nixon, and what they did was, for this 30-minute episode of Tales from the Crypt, was they brought back Humphrey Bogart, and the idea was it was from his perspective, his point of view. So I believe John Lithgow, was in this episode along with Isabel Rossellini, and what would happen is that you would see from his point of view, and then he would look in the mirror, and then there's Humphrey Bogart staring right back at him. And it's like, they did it where they had the CGI done where it's like his lips would move while another actor was doing Humphrey Bogart. That, and of course the controversy of that time too. It's, for me, that was more acceptable because, once again, that's less than
Limited
30
role.
minutes.
Yeah.
And because you only didn't see it as much, you would only see it in a reflection.
And also, I have, and this actually will be a good segue into talking about our first movie that we saw at the movies. But the director of the film, he was saying that he was, like I said, searching high and low for the right actor to play this role and stuff. But here's the thing, though. Because it's completely CGI, how do you know James Dean would have acted the way that you want him to act in this movie?
Yeah.
If that's the case, why don't you just get someone that looks someone completely different and you make him act like how you want him to act?
Well,
Like, I find that concept completely ridiculous because you don't know how James Dean would have acted for this role.
Well, it's what happened is that he was going to go, well, let's go with the guy who played James Dean, James Franco. Oh, wait a minute. Probably not. No.
But like since talking about the quality in acting and stuff like that, one of the first movies that we saw for this series, for this episode anyway, was Lighthouse.
Yes.
Or The Lighthouse. Which one?
Yes.
Is it Lighthouse or The Lighthouse?
The Lighthouse. Yep.
I'm sorry, The Lighthouse.
It was written and directed by Robert Eggers. He also co-wrote it with his brother. And he also did, a couple years ago, a film called The Witch.
God, yes.
Which this film does have a lot of connections with, whereas like Eggers has thus far made these two films, these great New England folklore tales. And what those movies are about, what this movie's about is basic, simple. That is this. Two men are on a rock off the New England coast, and they get this severe case of cabin fever. But in this, you get this surreal, mad, dark comedy with farts and seagulls and a mermaid, and you start to be questioned what is real, what isn't.
Exactly. Like that's what I really loved about this movie. At the end of the day, like if anyone asks me, like, what did you think of The Lighthouse? All I can say is, what the fuck? Like, and I mean that, and I mean that in the best way possible. And like, I love movies that like, I can't even summarize. I can't even explain what this movie's about. Can I tell you what the meaning of it is? Really? Honestly, no. But I enjoyed myself every second, like while watching this movie. And the way that it was shot, the structure of it was so beautifully made. And you made it a point of saying that it's very German expressionism. Like it's like, and for me, like, someone who doesn't really know about film or like the terminology and stuff, I like to say artsy fartsy, but in the best way possible. For me, it was like a true definition of an art film. But it was distracting in the best way possible for what the story was doing. In the sense of like, I really loved how, like, throughout the whole movie, it became pretty clear that this, like, what was real and what was in their minds was very blurred. Like, you as the audience were kind of, you were standing by Robert Pattinson's character's side, like, realizing, like, wait, is this real? Is this not? What's going on? It's like, I'm getting anxious. Are you getting anxious? Yes, we're both getting anxious. Like, okay, what's going to happen next? So it's like, I really love that structure. And then it's like, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe this movie. It's just like, I loved it.
Because what I'll piggyback off of that, because the thing about the movie is that it's shot and speaking, because like I said, this is up for awards season. That is, if we want to talk about like, well, of the categories, best cinema, what makes a film justified to get nominated for best cinematography or best sound mixing and sound editing, beyond what's the difference between the two? Simply like this: sound mixing is the combination of all of the sound and how it mixes together. Sound editing,
the waves, the bird noises, the clutter, like of the stepping and all that stuff. God, it's so well. It worked perfectly.
And sound editing is basic sound design, and that is the creation of those sounds. So in this case, this film is a prime example of best sound mixing, sound editing, and cinematography. And that is, with the cinematography, it's shot 4:3, so it's in a square. And the thing about it is that, well, why shoot it that way? And also in particular when it comes to the lenses, because they wanted to give that look, to make it look like a film that was shot in like the 1920s. The reason why is because Robert Eggers wanted you to be in that contained area on the island, that you feel as claustrophobic as those characters do. And with the sound mixing, I mean, I know I mentioned the farts. This is the first film that I can recall where they had a sound cut from a fart to a foghorn, which, by the way, by the end of that foghorn is just, it's always there and driving you insane.
Yeah. Oh my God, that is right. That's actually like, it's kind of funny, like when I said it gave me anxiety, and I usually just steer free from like things that give me anxiety, as you know. But this movie, I would honestly go watch again just because of the cinematography and because of the sound editing. And I remember telling you too, like it had a perfect mixture of silence and then that foghorn in the background, and it becomes more prominent, and so more eerie and more like give more. I can't even say like if it's anxious. There's another feeling that it gave me. It was more tension. It was a more like unsettling feeling and all that stuff. So it was so well, and it reminded me so much of The Witch, but not in a bad way. It also, like when it comes back to the cinematography, I'm so happy that they made this in black and white.
Yes.
Because I do feel that whole eeriness of it all would have kind of been a lot lessened if it was in color. You know?
And one of the, because we mentioned, Robert Pattinson a lot, but definitely want to bring up once again, before we move on, to Willem Dafoe. And that is, Willem Dafoe proves once again that he is not just one of the best actors of his generation, he is one of the best actors, period. That, I mean, he has at the very least 2 or 3 monologues in the movie that you're just amazed by the conviction that comes from it. I mean, the one that I remember was coming from that drunken argument about him saying, like, "Oh, you liked my lobster. Tell me you like my lobster." And he harks to Triton and wishing the absolute worst upon Robert Pattinson. It is just, he doesn't blink for, I think the monologue goes for 2 or 3 minutes straight. He doesn't blink for one second.
Yeah. And actually, like, and that scene is a perfect example of the great mixture of tone in that movie, because
it's a very dark comedy.
It's a very dark comedy, but like at the very end of that speech, where like because of how long it was, it kind of became unsettling too. You're like, oh god, this is old guys rambling. Wait a minute, no, he means what he's saying. These 2 men are stuck together on this small island. What the hell? And it gets even more creepy, and then at the very end it's just unsettling, and then there's this silence, and then Robert Pattinson's like, okay, I like your lobster. Like,
have it your way.
Like, have it your way. Like, then it added that comedic element to it. So it's like both actors worked so well together and bounced off each other so well. It was the perfect balance. But I will be shocked if Willem Dafoe does not get nominated, first of all, or doesn't even win. Like, he's so freaking amazing as are they leads? Are they both supporting actors? Like, I don't even know at this point, because it's only 2 people in this.
They're campaigning.
Technically.
I mean, for me, I lean more towards it being a both of them being leads, but because they don't nominate 2 leading performances in the same category nowadays. They're campaigning Pattinson in lead and Dafoe in supporting, which I can see because Pattinson is in, I think, almost every frame of the movie, while Dafoe, there are some stretches when he isn't there. I understand that, but that's Oscar campaigning. But speaking of dark comedies involving questionable roommates or questionable friends, we're gonna go into
Jojo Rabbit.
Jojo Rabbit, Taika Waititi's satiric film about a boy, Jojo, and his imaginary friend Adolf Hitler during the dying days of World War II, where
towards the end
for Nazi Germany. Yes,
this movie, again, I actually went in trying not to have an expectation, because I was like, this can go one of 2 ways: be a complete success or just flat out failure, because of the subject. It's like, if this was in lesser hands, it would have bombed bad, I believe, But the one thing that really, really struck me with this movie is the actual heart it had, have it being a satirical film.
Yes.
And it's like, throughout the whole movie, the performances were great. And like, there was funny, I don't want to say cameos, but they felt like cameos. Like with Sam Rockwell, is that his name?
Yes, Sam Rockwell. Once again, it's like hopefully he'll stop playing, racists and Nazis.
But here's the thing, though. Like the homosexual undertones with his character, and just he brought this great comedic element to it. Like, for people who felt so full of themselves, but yet as the movie went on, you felt that, like, you realized that they're not just, I don't want to say just Nazis, but some of them, like, there is a heart in there, whether brainwashed for all of this or if there was like a great like thing behind it. But yeah, this movie, I know I always hear people say, like, not always, like, I've heard people have one of 2 opinions on this movie. I personally loved it because it was the perfect blend of heart, satire, and just it is a dark comedy with more comedic undertones than dark.
Yeah, well,
Well, even
absol-
then, no, it's a great balance.
Yeah, because the thing about the movie is that I mean the comedy is just I mean how Waititi films the movie that it's not like say Schindler's List, which is black and white, or to use another Steven Spielberg film like Saving Private Ryan, which is like a very faded out look in terms of desaturated. This film is colorful in terms of it, not just in
Yes.
terms of characters, but in terms of the costumes and the production design. Because this is what Waititi does as a director that's very brilliant, is that he absorbs you into this world through not just the comedy but through the color, and then what'll happen is you have a couple of laughs at the absurdity, but then suddenly something what happens when you realize the fact of how dark and where it goes. Like for example, there's a scene in the movie, like probably my favorite scene, where Stephen Merchant comes in with a bunch of other members of the Third Reich, and they go in to inspect Jojo's house if they're holding any Jews. In the film, it turns out that Jojo's mother is
Played by
housing
Scarlett
Scarlett
Johansson.
Johansson, yeah, is housing this Jewish girl. Played by Thomasin McKenzie, and what happens is that there's this funny sequence in the scene where there's like 5 Nazis and they keep going How Hitler, How Hitler, How Hitler, and it's just how absurd it is that they buy into this cult figure
Yeah.
of Hitler, keeps saying How Hitler, How Hitler.
Yeah, like the Jojo, he's like he's like a 10-year-old
Yeah.
at this point, right?
Yeah.
So it's like when saying like Hail Hitler, like they had to greet each and every person like
With a Heil Hitler.
Yeah, and it's like I say it to you, then you say it back to me. So then he goes to the next person. I say it to you, then you say it back to me, and then I go. So it's like this part like it just drags out.
Yes.
But it doesn't overstay its
Yeah,
welcome.
but there's a turn that
Oh,
occurs
yeah.
when Thomasin McKenzie appears and she pretends to be JoJo's deceased sister.
Mm-hmm.
And so at this point, when they do the How Hitler, saying it to each other each time, now the comedy suddenly takes that turn of, if every time they say it, it's like a dagger to this poor girl, that every time they say How Hitler, it's a gut punch, like this is for your dead father, this is for your dead mother, this is for every single dead relative or friend or however, whoever. That's how it feels. And it's like, that's what he does. Or towards the end of the movie where everything is going to hell in a handbasket in Nazi Germany, that you slowly begin to realize like how these powerful people want to hide behind the youth that they've indoctrinated. Because that's what's also brilliant about the film. It's how we see all these hateful groups coming up in this time where hate is coming back to the forefront. How these people want to fit in with each other or to be part of a group, to feel wanted and accepted. And this film really dives into that, and it makes you laugh. But it does make you pause and go, "Oh my God!"
It's such a beautiful, heartfelt film based on one of our darkest moments in history. And like I said, it also the director does play Hitler.
Yes.
And what was his background? Like, what's his nationality? Like,
Oh,
ethnicity?
he is. Well, his mother, if memory serves, his mother is Jewish, and his father is because I think his father is I know I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation. Is Maori.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so the man is a man of color playing Hitler,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
one of the most hated men in the whole world. Not one, the most hated man in the whole wide world.
He's a Kiwi.
He's a Kiwi. I like that word. Anyways, so I think I feel like if they would have cast someone else, it wouldn't have really worked.
It would have been distracting. It would have been.
It was been distracting because like people were saying like, oh, what about like a man like he has to be likable? Like what about Tom Hanks? Then we're gonna be like, it's the movie about Tom Hanks playing Hitler, guys. Like no.
Yeah.
So like this man is famous, but not famous enough to be distracting on screen.
Yes.
Like he's done great other great movies. Like what's the title called?
What we do in the what we do in the shadows,
There
which
you
is
go.
his brilliant mockumentary about vampires, and he also did one of the better of the Marvel Cinematic Universe films in Thor Ragnarok.
Yes, and like all those movies have in common is the tone, actually, like the comedic tone. Like they all have that in common, but actually all of those 3 movies are my favorite, like when it comes to like this kind of genre, because it has the perfect amount of comedy, the perfect amount of whether if it's horror or like when it comes to the Marvel movies, like
superhero
comic book
fun.
superhero, like the action with comedy, which for me sometimes I hate the combination for some weird reason. And in this one, when it comes to like, hey, this is a real thing that happened. Millions and millions of people died in the hands of this horrible man. But you know what we're gonna do? We'll make him quote unquote likable, but we're gonna fucking show him for what this bastard really is, a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, it's perfect. Like, this young boy, Jojo Rabbit, ends up creating...
Well, just Jojo.
Jojo. The reason it was Jojo Rabbit, there is a part in the movie that they end up giving him this nickname, so I call him Jojo Rabbit. So they give him this nickname, Jojo Rabbit, but Jojo like ends up creating... what's that word? Imaginary friend, which is actually Hitler. And this kid, he is obsessed with Hitler. He has posters of him on his wall. It's like, you know, it's like at the back, like he's the fucking Backstreet Boys or some shit. Like, I don't know, whatever. So like, and
see Hitler dancing to I Want It That Way.
So, oh my God. But the reason why I really love this is the fact that it kind of put Hitler in the level of a child. Like, this man was fucking childish, you know, and like showing him whether throw fits or trying to compromise with a little child. It's like, this guy was a fucking idiot. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, fuck you. And actually, there's a beautiful scene in the movie where it was the biggest fuck you in history, which I loved. And I won't spoil it. You guys have to go watch it. Yeah, but
that's what's so good about the structure, because bear in mind that Waititi, he not only he directed the movie, he co-produced the movie, he starred in the movie, and he wrote the movie. And the thing about it is that with how Waititi did it was like he was looking, it was based off a book, that he was looking it through the eyes of a child. And that is, of course, in his kid's mind, is like Hitler is my best friend, and he feels just like the friend that he doesn't have, that he is an outcast in there. I mean, he has his other friend as well. I don't know the name of the actor, but he was also, this is a little chubby kid.
God.
He was also really funny.
For me, he had the best line in the movie.
What was it about? Like I'm gonna go home and cuddle.
No, not that part. Like it was actually around that same, like in that same scene when he's like, "It's a bad time to be a Nazi." So it's like, I'm just gonna go home to my mom and cuddle.
Yeah,
it's like, and again, I actually love the fact that even though they said it in a very comedic way, by the end of the movie, he already earned all of this, in the sense of like, at the end of the day, these people that they sent to war at the end, like, these are fucking children.
Yeah,
like, you were putting this hate, this nonsense into these children's hearts and their minds, when at the end of the day, like, the kid said, I'm done, I just want to go home and cuddle with my mom.
Yeah,
like, and also it hits hard because, like, also again, the performances are phenomenal, but this is the best I have seen Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, because you were not I mean, you thought you'd do okay work, but nothing truly wowed you until this performance.
And this performance, like, because the thing is, like, I don't know why, like, I believe she isn't a mom, like, in real life, and I think that's what really helped this performance because of what the subject was.
Yes,
it's like, this woman has a beautiful heart. She, like, you know, she was trying to help out. She was part of the resistance, pretty much. She was part of the resistance, right? So it's like, and to see your young son be brainwashed into hating the very people that you're trying to save is absolutely heartbreaking. So she tries to, like, go down to, like, I don't say go down to his level, but, like, speak to him in the only way this kid will know how, in a very fantastical, theatric way a little bit. Like, if you notice, like, she is very, I don't want to say animated, but it's like, she spoke to him like how she felt would be the best way to get to him, you know?
Yes, exactly.
So it's like, throughout the whole film, you can see this woman just, you know, trying the best she can in the circumstances that she was given, while secretly doing what she's doing, you know? And it's like, and there's this, and I kind of feel a little choked up right now. Like, there's one specific scene, I will spoil it, like, you guys, I hope you go see it. She dies. And the way it's revealed, I literally just wanted to bawl my eyes out in this movie, because the setup and the execution literally was amazing. I don't want to say amazing, but you know what I mean? It served so well in this movie, in the sense of, like, okay, we're getting funny moments, it's a heartbreaking moment in the harsh realities of what really happened. So again, the structure of this movie was so brilliantly done that the comedy did not take away of the horrible circumstances of the horrible deaths of, like, the millions of people went through, but at the same time, not everyone wants to just be reminded, like, not only did these people die, like, we're going to show it to you in a way that's going to stick in your mind. And
Yes.
sometimes the only way we can do that is through comedy.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, I would recommend this movie over and over again. I would watch this movie over and over again. It is so beautiful and, like you said, colorful.
Oh yes, absolutely. It's like, because once again, it's like we're going into the usage of color with how important black and white was, how important the cinematography was to the Lighthouse, the cinematography was, the color scheme in Jojo Rabbit, but also important to this film. Now, bear in mind, it's pretty early on in terms of, well, still, I mean, we only have, a couple months, we only have this month, another month left, but I don't know if I'm going to see a better movie this year than the last film we're going to talk about, and that's Bong Joon-ho's Parasite, the film that won the Palme d'Or at this year's Cannes Film Festival. That a film that is I'll just quickly get out of the way, that what's the film about? It's about this poor family that finds their way into the services of a rich family set in South Korea. That's at the bare minimum I want to say about what the movie is, because this is a film that the less you know about the
better
movie,
it's gonna be.
Yes, because this is a film that it transcends in terms of going from drama to dark comedy to a real horror show, then right back to the comedy, and then suddenly it becomes a farce in one sequence, but then it becomes a story about the struggles between the class warfare and what the definition of the title of Parasite. Who is the parasite? What is the parasite reflected in the film? And
Like,
it's,
are we creating the parasites? Like, it's
Yeah.
just a big fucking circle. Like, it's just a cycle. And is it ever going to be broken? Honestly,
Yes.
Like, and I think the ending of that movie just pretty much showed it.
Yeah.
And spoilers ahead, guys. If you guys don't want to know about this movie, because like David did say, the less you do know about it, the better.
Yes.
However,
So what we'll say
Yeah.
is that from this moment moving forward is that if you don't want to be spoiled, be like, all right, goodbye guys. Like, nice listening. Hope you guys tune in next time to our next episodes. We love you.
we love you. Bye.
Bye.
1, 2, 3. All right, so spoilers. No, like this fucking movie, and like you said, I did go into this movie not knowing shit, right? The only thing that I did hear is that people were saying like, apparently it's the scariest movie out there, blah blah blah. I disagree, but I mean this. I disagree with this in the best way possible. Again, this movie, I don't even know what the fuck. Because, okay, so we're talking about the circle of life pretty much. Like, just a cycle. There you go. Shut up. Talking about a cycle. And at the very end of the movie, like, just to, like, spoil everything, like, actually, you know what? No, we have to go to the beginning because it will make no
Yes.
sense if I even talk about the ending.
That basically what it is revealed that with this family that they use their cunning to get them in and to get hired on as about a
tutor.
It's about the mother, father, their son and daughter who are in their late teens, if not early 20s, and the son is an English translator. The daughter becomes an art teacher. The father comes in replacing the chauffeur, and then the mother comes in replacing the nanny who's been there since the family moved in.
Yeah, and like let's say there's like that sounds all well and good, but like I think it's very important to state that and this movie did it brilliantly from the start in setting up the characters and the settings and everything. Is this family, when we say they're poor, they're really, really poor, like barely living day by day. Like, so in the very beginning of the movie, and this was perfect. I like at the end, I was like, aha, it's like, they're sitting in their living room, very tight. This home is like very, very tight. Like I would even imagine like
It's
not even as like, smaller than our living room for the most part.
It's like, and they're living in essentially a basement where they're living in an area where people come to piss in the streets.
Literally, yeah, you'll see in the movie. But like, so they're sitting there, they're trying to fold pizza boxes to hopefully make money for the day so they can eat. And there's this part where like there's an exterminator coming and they have their window open and they're like, he's exterminating the streets or whatever. And then the family, like the mom's like, should we close the window? He's like, no, we'll get free pest control this way or whatever. And I thought that was awesome because of them, like for what they're gonna end up doing later on, becoming parasites.
Yeah.
And then like, so I just loved that kind of imagery a little bit. Like their whole apartment or home, whatever, was filled with bug spray.
Yeah.
So like, I just thought it was very interesting. So like you said, the son first ends up getting a job as a tutor because his best friend was the tutor for this family, but he's going overseas.
Yeah.
So he ends up coming in, and then that's where the whole Parasite title comes in a little bit.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah, because the thing is that, I mean, what it's then revealed is that when the nanny comes back again and you're like, oh, she wants to go grab something. Well, okay. And then she goes into the basement and then you see this surreal image of her pressing against this case with her legs against the wall. It seems like a bookcase or something like that. And there's revealed to be a door. It turns out that the person who previously owned the house, that she worked for him, this architect, and she was housing her husband there for 4.5 years before this new couple came in, this rich couple came in, and because he's hiding from the loan sharks. And then it slowly, the film starts to show how it's about the class warfare between the rich and the poor, and how it could be something like, oh, it's the smell or the common folk or how poor they are. Or one example is that there's a big rainfall that occurs during this night where the nanny shows up, and like I said, it becomes a farce. But the rain comes in and it's like, oh, it's a nice pleasant rain and it's going to come, and the next day the rich family acknowledges, oh, how great it is, let's host a party. And they can host a party just like that, and they can get everything they want just like that. What happens is to the poor family is that while this is going on, this so-called great rain that's making it all pleasant and nice, it floods their house completely, and it floods to the point to where the sewers overflow.
Yeah.
And they have to walk around, and not just walk around, but swim up to their necks in this water, in the piss, in the shit, and all that stuff. And it's like this, I mean, of course they don't know what's going on, but that's where it comes into how parasitic the idea of I mean, come on, comrades, against capitalism, you know, that idea of society of that the rich can get away with saying stuff like this. It's like, oh, well, how wonderful the rain is and all. But then there's this family that basically lost their home. Got no
They lost everything. They
Yeah.
They ended up sleeping in a gym.
Gymnasium.
A gymnasium, yeah. Like it was housing a whole bunch of people that ended up losing their homes. But the thing is, like, it's funny because like I'm listening to you like describe this, and it sounds random, but the movie, again, how the movie is structured, it explains it all in such a way that like the trickle effect of everything is just like one hit after another after another. Not only to like no, to the family, it's a hit to the family. Like they go into this home like trying to I don't want to say, I'm just gonna say con the rich family, because like first the son comes in and then he's like,
but he actually knows what he's doing.
oh, he knows what he's doing, and it is very obvious that this family is pretty smart when it comes to conning, okay? Like, and it kind of insinuates they might have done this before to like, not to this big of an extent, but like in smaller extents.
Yeah.
But like first the son comes in as the tutor for like the English tutor, and then he puts it in the wife's head that like, hey, like, you know, since you have this son who likes art or whatever, I know somebody who knows, who's an art teacher or whatever, an art tutor. And she's very like high in demand, so you might want to snatch her up. He's like, okay, and it turns out to be his sister, but they're gonna act like they're not brother and sister. And then from there, the sister's like, well, I know a driver, because like, you know, she ends up framing their personal chauffeur.
Yeah, their current chauffeur.
Their current chauffeur. Their driver, whatever, I can't say that word. So their current driver, she ends up framing him so she can get her dad in there. You see that whole Parasite thing going on? Yeah. You know, like you get one in there and you're gonna get them all. So like it's a trickle effect. So like the point is the whole family is now in the picture. And then from there everything starts going into how like they kind of start getting a little too cocky. And you know, and then like you start seeing like, okay, this family's now officially like infiltrated into this family. And because you don't know like how we went into this movie not knowing anything, that's where the fun started, because you don't know where this movie's gonna go.
Yes.
Like how is the movie like the title Parasite, like how is it gonna be how is it gonna be involved?
Yes.
And because of that, it creates the most unsettling movie with a lot of funny moments. But it's not one of those funny moments where it's like, oh, that's like, that came out of nowhere. It's like, no, they're very human moments that make sense with these characters.
And it's like also just the fact that it's like how, when it comes to the movie, like the one thing that I thought of is that think of it this way: when the rich family they believe in what they say and they fire the chauffeur, they fire the nanny, and bear in mind they have been there for gosh, who knows how long? At the very least, maybe a couple of years.
Who, the ones in the basement?
Yeah, no,
Oh.
not the no, because the one in the basement, her husband, he did not work for him at all. He was there hiding. No, it's the chauffeur and
Gotcha,
the nanny.
gotcha,
They think,
yeah.
no, this is the point that I'm getting at. The rich family just automatically just fires them. That
Mm-hmm.
they don't go, well, wait a minute, what about this? Like the question, because they
Yeah.
automatically believe in that because they have that idea of, well, they're poor. Of course he's a pervert or a drug addict.
Yeah.
Because she gets that belief, the mother of the rich family, that she gets that belief that he must be doing all these awful, terrible things. And with her, it's like, oh, well, she has tuberculosis, the nanny, because they concoct this scenario where they find out that the nanny has an allergy to peaches. And so they make her believe that she has tuberculosis. Well, that's a disease.
Not make the nanny believe, but make
Not the nanny
mom,
believe. No, make the rich
the
mother.
ma'am of the house.
Make
Madam of
make the
house.
family
Yeah.
believe. The rich family believe in that. But the thing is, like,
God,
with
it was so fucked up. I was so mad.
Because, but think about that, tuberculosis, like in their mind frame of that's a commoner's disease,
Yeah,
a
the
poor
poor
person
person
disease,
disease, yeah.
and just like how awful that is, and
They
now,
don't want to get infected by the parasite.
yeah,
You know?
but also think of it this way: the extent that the tragedy is the extent that the poor family has to go through by doing this stuff to be able to make enough money to hopefully be able to get out of that location. And that's where the sadness, the tragedy in it lies, where it's like you've got this rich family, this family of means who can afford to get a tutor for a second language, an art teacher, a chauffeur, a nanny. These are all like things that
Everything's accessible to them.
yeah, that these are like the haves and the have-mores that they don't necessarily need, but they're able to get that, while other families have to struggle to survive and do that.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Like, I'm gonna disagree with you, like, to a certain extent, because yes, this family is going, like, their life is complete shit, literally. And I don't mean that like as like a funny thing, but it's like, but the thing is, this family, they're doing anything they can to feed their family, to have a roof over their head or and whatever. But then it crosses a line into themselves becoming the people that they're hating a little bit. You know,
Oh,
like they
yeah.
themselves become parasitic. So it's like in a different sense. It's like, okay, you guys are able to feed your family and stuff, but now you're pushing it. Now,
Yeah.
like, are you gonna want to take over that family? What was your next step? You know, like if it didn't stop where it did, what would have been their next step?
And the thing
you know?
is that in a lesser director, and because that's what's great about what Bong
Yes.
Joon-ho did, is like not just as the, once again, this is also what's brilliant about it. Another theme of 3 movies we watched, that the directors all wrote the movie or co-wrote the movie.
Oh, did they?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And
Wow.
that's like they're literally like from their vision coming with these ideas. With Bong Joon-ho, that instead of going that whole thing, because I was wondering if, is this going to be one of those where they slowly but surely take over the family? But Bong Joon-ho isn't interested in going in that approach. This what you think it's going to happen, and maybe like a sitcom-esque type of plot, or maybe a lesser American thriller. That he's looking at it in terms of the themes. He's looking at it in terms of what haven't we seen in terms of cinema. That, and this is where I want to conclude on, and that is, because I know that, one controversy that's been arising with Martin Scorsese, who's my money the best filmmaker of all time, about how he had to defend his position on, the superhero films and such. And I understand where he's coming from, because he's coming from a generation of filmmakers in the 70s which, by the way, we will go into greater detail in our other spinoff, Something Old, Something New, from Alien to Z, that he's coming from this period where the auteur filmmakers like not only Martin Scorsese, but Francis Ford Coppola, Steven Spielberg, Robert Altman, Hal Ashby, all these directors were coming to the forefront, that they were becoming the stars of the movies. It wasn't that the actors were the stars, even though there were still stars, that the reason why people were going to go see movies were because of the directors. And that, we mentioned The Irishman, that he went to all these different movie studios to get something like The Irishman made. And and they turned him down. He had to go to Netflix to be able to get that creative liberty, but also get the budget to make that movie. With The Lighthouse and Jojo Rabbit and Parasite, those are three great movies that prove that there are still great ideas out there, that there are still great filmmakers with distinct visions and great actors and great technicians behind the scenes working on these movies, that they are deserved to be seen, can be seen, and shows that, you know, that they are out there.
Well, like, the thing is, it's kind of unfair to say, because, like, these movies, the audiences are who it's intended for completely different. You know, someone who's like, I mean, it's like unlike you and me, where I know there's people out there that are like us, that we can watch a superhero movie that's just a popcorn silly superhero movie and be perfectly content, and then the next day go see a movie like Lighthouse that's very German expressionism, very like metaphorical kind of movie. So it's like, but to say that there's only one or the other, and I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but it's completely invalid. Like, I completely understand that, and I'm very happy that these movies were made, because it will show production companies like, hey, there's still an audience out there of people who want to see these kind of films. But to say that we're only going to get something meaningful from these kind of films and not like popcorn movies, then I feel is completely irrelevant and unfair.
Well, beyond that, it's more about the fact that the studios should not just focus in on just the tentpole movies, not just on the tentpole movies, but to look at it like that there are original films out there that can be produced and made, and that there are audiences who still want to go see them, like, you know, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or also Us. It's my call would be like, you know, definitely make those movies to you know, make your budgets, but don't forget about those other films. Like, don't forget about the Jojo Rabbits or the Lighthouses or the Parasites that are out, the good Parasites, not the bad ones, that are out there, that, you know, definitely, you know, not just, you know, oh, they make a superhero film or a tentpole movie, that go give them a budget. Go make certain that they can go out there and they'll go and make yourself a good movie. Because Watiti's a great example. He has made both a superhero film and he
one of
has
the most
made,
successful ones in that one, yeah.
And he's made himself a dark, you know, satirical comedy, that it goes to show you that it can be done, and someone like a Watiti can definitely do that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I just hope that, I'm just very thankful for now what used to be just streaming services, now production companies like Netflix and Amazon and
with Netflix and all that,
that they're starting to really to realize that, hey, there's this huge empty space for these kind of movies again, and that's why I'm actually very excited for this Oscar season, because I feel it's going to be changing the course in what we're expecting of movies nowadays. Like I said, you know, so it's like, it's going to start showing like, hey, we can have a great blend of all of this in one movie.
Exactly.
And have it be done well. So I honestly, okay, so now talking about these three movies, what is your take? Like, should people go see The Lighthouse? Do you feel
this is easy. This is easy peasy. And that's this. I mean, I think I gave the game away in terms of what I said, and that is all three movies deserve to be seen in theaters. They all, not just in terms of go rent a movie, they deserve to be seen in theaters.
We're dying. No, I'm kidding. That's my crock pot. Anyways, but no, I do agree that all these three movies should be seen in theaters. I will say this, as someone who's not really much into the film community just yet, I don't think The Lighthouse is for everyone. However, I do feel a more mainstream audience for Jojo Rabbit and not Lighthouse, for Parasite. But The Lighthouse, I feel it's going to be a little bit more. If you like more of an artsy film, definitely watch The Lighthouse.
Yeah.
I still recommend all three, but audience-wise, I feel more mainstream Parasite and Jojo Rabbit.
I would say that to everyone who, and this is where I think also going back to Scorsese, that he's trying to say, and that is, you know, try to cleanse your palate as well. And that is, I mean, if you're only to eat, you know, a Big Macs all the time, that it's like, you know, you forget about the taste of another really good meal. And that is, you know, that's nothing wrong with like having a good Big Mac now and then. But if you just eat Big Mac, I don't like Big Macs to begin with. But it's like if all you eat are Big Macs, then it's like, what's so sad is that you're foregoing your opportunity to be able to, you know, try all these wonderful cuisines as well. So it's one of those where it's like, do I think that these movies are for everyone? No, not absolutely not. No, but I would one of those where it's like if you want to be adventurous in terms of the movies that are out there, by all means, definitely go check them out. Check out
also
all three.
Yeah,
films.
exactly. And actually, I do want to say one last thing about Parasite.
Yes.
When it comes to now the audiences, because a lot of people might say like, well, this is a foreign film, because it's completely in Japanese, right?
No, it's Korean.
Korean. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's in Korean.
The people of Korea and Japan are now mad.
I am so sorry, guys. Like right now, you have no idea. I have like the worst brain fog right now. But anyways, so this movie is in Korean, and this is the first foreign film I was able to watch. Other than Spanish ones, because I'm bilingual, I understand Spanish as well, so that those don't count. But this movie, because it's all in subtitles in English, I was not distracted one bit by the subtitles. I completely forgot I was watching a foreign film.
Yep.
That's why I do feel this movie would be perfect for mainstream audiences. So like I just had to throw that in there, guys.
Yes.
Like don't be scared of the fact that it's a foreign film, because believe me, it will not take away from the experience one bit.
Nope, not at all. Not one iota. Because it's...
You just gave me this look like...
I did?
You did. You're like, I told you it was Korean. I'm sorry. I am sorry.
It's Korean. It's Korean. No, it's like... No, but it is true. But it's like all three films are definitely, in our opinions, worth your time. So, this will end our very first episode of Something Old, Something New at the Movies.
Yay.
And as stated, that we're not going to forego Something Old, Something New. And that, as stated, we have a bunch of other spin-off ideas as well that'll focus on older films as well. Whether we're talking like old movies, we're talking like going back
vintage, guys.
Yeah,
Vintage.
we're talking like German Expressionist movies. We're talking like films or the MGM musicals. We're talking during that time period, these aforementioned tour period.
Yeah, I'm like really excited for sorry, I'm going to interrupt you again. I'm really excited for how and we spoke about this in our last podcast a little bit, how we are planning on expanding the SOSN brand.
Yes.
Not only are we going to be doing like Something Old, Something New, the original podcast that we're doing, SOSN at the Movies, like which is our first episode. This one, SOSN. Do you want me to say the other one?
Yeah.
At the Couch.
Oh yes, Out the Couch. That's going to be dedicated to those movies that the only way able to watch them was to stream them.
Yeah, exactly. Like we said, like we're in this now big renaissance of streaming services that are becoming production companies. So there's a lot of great content coming out that I feel that the experience from watching it in theaters and watching it at home are very different. So we wanted to see how what the differences are, if it's even worth it or not. But we're really excited for that, and also new content that might be coming up on YouTube.
Exactly.
Probably early next year, because it's November, it's holiday season, so
exactly.
Yeah, so we're really excited for everything that's going on. So please check us out on Instagram. Like we have been lacking on posting because of what's been going on this past month, but we're starting to slowly get into everything back again.
Yep.
We'll be posting new content, new behind the scenes stuff of a lot of the stuff that we're going to be doing. Also check us out on YouTube, Something Old, Something New. What else?
Well, like I said, follow us on Instagram, Twitter. It's SOSN Podcast. Be sure to keep listening to us on Spotify. Also, by all means, I guess Podbean as well.
Podbean,
and
yes.
also keep checking our YouTube channel as well, because we will keep having new content there too. But for today's episode, this is David,
And this is Salome.
and we're saying we're closing the balcony, or is that the balcony is now closed?
We're closing the balcony. Fuck you.
And that's what it is, like at the movies. All right, take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.